Welcome to the Zombie Story Zone, where the dead never rest and the nightmares never end. Tonight, we journey into the frozen heart of terror with winter's wrath. Zombies freeze and reanimate with a thaw as the winter chill grips Frostbite Hollow, something far more sinister than the cold begins to stir.
If you're ready for a chilling tale of survival and horror, you're in the right place.
Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button if you love a good scare. Subscribe for more spine-tingling stories, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear how you've survived the Frozen Horde.
Now, bundle up, because this tale is about to send shivers down your spine.
The wind howled through the deserted town of Frostbite Hollow, where the temperature had plummeted overnight.
The snow-covered streets were eerily silent, but beneath the surface, something stirred.
The first frost of winter had frozen everything in its path, including the undead.
Jake, a lone survivor, trekked through the snow, searching for supplies.
He had heard tales of the Frozen Horde, zombies that would freeze solid during winter, only to reanimate with the spring thaw. But that was just a myth, right?
As Jake approached the old general store, he noticed something strange.
Frozen figures, half buried in snow, littered the town square. His heart pounded as he recognized the stiff forms. They were zombies encased in ice, their lifeless eyes staring blankly ahead.
Jake hurried inside the store, his breath visible in the cold air, unaware that the temperature was slowly rising. Days passed, and the relentless cold began to ease. Jake had settled into the general store, rationing what little food he had found.
But as the snow started to melt, a sense of unease crept over him. The once still zombies seemed to shift, their frozen limbs twitching ever so slightly.
Jake shook his head, dismissing the movement as his imagination playing tricks.
But deep down, he knew something was wrong.
The air felt warmer, and the snow was melting faster than expected. He peered out the window, watching as water dripped from the frozen corpses.
Suddenly, one of the zombies' eyes flickered.
Jake gasped, stumbling backward.
The thaw had begun, and with it, the dead were coming back to life.
Jake barricaded the doors, his heart racing as he heard the first groans of the reawakening undead.
The once frozen zombies were now slowly regaining movement, their stiff limbs cracking as they began to rise. The general store, which had felt safe just days before, now felt like a trap.
He cursed himself for not leaving sooner. The tales of the Frozen Horde were true, and now he was caught in the middle of it. Jake grabbed his shotgun, loading it with trembling hands.
The undead were slow, but they were relentless. He knew he couldn't stay here much longer.
As the first zombie reached the store's entrance, Jake aimed and fired.
The blast echoed through the small town, but more were coming.
The ice had broken, and the Horde was awake. Jake knew he had to escape before the Horde fully regained their strength. He shoved supplies into a backpack, his mind racing.
The roads were still icy, but the zombies were slow. He had a chance if he moved fast. He slipped out the back door, avoiding the main street where the undead were gathering. The once quiet town was now filled with the groans of the reanimated dead.
Jake's breath came in short gasps as he navigated the icy terrain, careful not to slip.
As he reached the outskirts of town, he glanced back.
The zombies were moving faster now, their hunger driving them forward. Jake's only hope was to find shelter before nightfall, when the temperature would drop again, and the undead would become even more dangerous. Jake stumbled upon an old cabin nestled in the woods, its roof sagging under the weight of the snow.
He pushed open the door and collapsed inside, bolting it shut behind him.
The cabin was small but sturdy, offering a brief respite from the Horde. He lit a fire in the old stove, warming his frozen fingers.
As the warmth spread through the cabin, Jake's mind raced.
The zombies were still out there, and the thaw would only make them stronger.
He had to think of a plan, something to stop the Horde once and for all. His eyes fell on a stack of old dynamite in the corner, likely left by a previous occupant. An idea began to form. If he could lure the Horde into one place, he could blow them all to pieces, ending the nightmare in Frostbite Hollow.
Night had fallen, and the temperature had plummeted again, but Jake knew the zombies wouldn't be frozen for long.
He rigged the dynamite around the perimeter of the cabin, setting a trap for the Horde.
The plan was risky, but it was his only chance. The groans of the undead grew louder as they closed in on the cabin. Jake waited, his finger on the detonator, watching as the first zombies stumbled into view. He needed them all in range before he could trigger the explosion.
The undead closed in, their icy breath visible in the night air.
Jake's heart pounded as he watched the cabin surrounded by the Horde. Just a little closer, he thought, waiting until the last possible moment. Jake limped away from the wreckage, the sun rising on a new day. The air was crisp, the snow glittering in the early morning light.
The town of Frostbite Hollow was silent once more, but this time, it was a peaceful silence. He had survived, but the memory of the Frozen Horde would haunt him forever.
As he made his way down the snow-covered road, Jake knew that the battle was over, but the war against the undead was far from won.
Winter's wrath had passed, but the fight for survival would never end.